guys, it's Aynsley here from the Drop Stitch Diary. So today I thought I would do kind of like a little introduction into stamping and what kind of different things you're going to need if you want to start stamping. So let me just clean up here. So the first thing I have to show you are some rubber stamps. And there are some different varieties of these. You can get some of these little tiny ones like this. And they usually have red rubber on the back and they have your image on here. And this one was a little one that came in a 4-pack. This is a bigger one you can see here. And then there's also things like alphas. And you can also get different ones that say words. I have some that say things like thank you, you know, just different sayings and stuff like that. The second kind of stamp that you can use are acrylic stamps or clear stamps. They might be called polymer stamps, photopolymer, clear rubber stamps, lots of different names. So, but usually you can look under clear stamps and you will find these type of stamps. Now, they usually come on little pieces of plastic and you can see right through they have the words or your picture printed on black on the outside so you can see them. And then to get them out, you just take off your backing and peel the plastic piece off of your sheet. And this is your stamp. I'm gonna try to bring this in closer so you guys can see. So you can see there, you can't really see the image too well just when it's the clear, but that's why they print it on here like this, so that you can see the stamped image. So, and then when you're done, you just place it back on your sheet again. And it's the same thing with these other ones. These are some Lawn Fawn ones. They usually come in little packages like this. You just pop them out, peel off your backing, and then take off your stamp. Just like that. Now there's two differences to these stamps. There are I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this at all. So there are like the little ridges on this side where my finger's tapping, and then the other side is completely flat. So that's how you know which side is the side that's going to stamp. The side that has the ridges on it is the side you're going to put your ink on. The flat side here that is completely flat is the side you're going to attach to your acrylic block. Now let's talk a little bit about acrylic blocks. So I have got a bunch of different sizes of acrylic blocks. So I got actually a 5-pack like this, and I use some of them for my planner and some of them for other things. So I have just got 3 of them here. They are completely clear. They are kind of mine are kind of a foggy color on the side, completely clear front to back. This one here is about 2 by 2. Like you can see it here, it's just clear. There's nothing special about it. This is about a 1.5 by 1.5, and this one's about a 1 by 1. And then I've also got these 2 that came in a set. And these ones here, there's a big one and then a small one. They came in a set and they have got grid lines on them. Now the thing I like about these ones is that you can then place your sentiment on here and line it up really easily because you've got your grid lines. And they've also got little, I don't know, wavy things on the side. So if you see how my hand is holding it here, that's usually how I stamp because your fingers kind of fit in the grooves. So you can really get a good image by pressing down. And it's the same thing on the smaller one. Also got the grid lines on both sides, and it's got your finger presses so you can hold it. You can hold it this way, whatever way is most comfortable to you. I also got this large one that is, if I measure it on my mat here, it is 5 by 3, I think. And this is to use for some of my bigger stamps because the biggest stamp I have is a little bit too big for my other block. So I use this one instead. And it is much thinner than my other ones. It's completely clear. And it's much thinner if I put the 2 beside each other here. Like, and so that you guys could actually see it. Sorry, it's so clear it's hard to see on the screen here. But this one here is much thicker than this one. But they still do the exact same job. Now let's talk about ink a little bit. So I pulled out a couple of different inks here. I have got my Memento inks that I use most often and a couple of Hero Arts as well. I keep my big ones just like this by themselves, and I keep my little ones in one of these iris cases from Michaels because they fit in here quite well, and I've got them sorted. This is just one of my cases. Anyways, and so the lids just pop off. It's a big square for the black one. I use the black one quite often, so I've got the big black one for that. And then for these little ones, some of them I got in sets, some of them I got by themselves. They are called Dewdrop Memento ink pads, and the top just pops off, and they look like a little dewdrop or a little raindrop or teardrop or whatever you might want to call it. Anyways, I keep them all in here. And then this Hero Arts one is the same thing, just it's a small square. And these ones here by Memento are all dye inks. So that means when you stamp with them, they are actually going to sink into your paper. And so you could have some, if you're stamping on things like a planner, it could bleed through your planner. So that's one thing you want to be aware of. If you're making a card and nobody's going to see the underside of it, it's not going to really matter because your dye inks are going to sink in and it's going to be a nice crisp image. Another type of ink that is out there are pigment inks. So I've got two different types here. I've got this Versafine pigment ink, and it is an onyx black, and it just opens up like this, and it's just a black pad. Looks very much like the Memento one. I've also got a dewdrop one here that is, I believe, by just Tsukineko. I don't know how to say that, sorry. But it's just a gold one. Same thing, pigment, a little dewdrop pad. Now the difference with pigment is that pigment sits on top of your paper, which makes it really good if you're going to be embossing it. So if you're going to be heat embossing, anything like that, you're going to want to use a pigment ink and it also takes a lot longer to dry. Dye inks will dry within a few seconds. Your pigment ink is going to take a little bit longer. So that's why it's great for if you're going to be doing any type of heat embossing, because you have enough time then to get your embossing powder on before it dries. Another type of ink that I have is the distress inks. And they come in these either little mini ink pads, and they also come in the big ones. I don't have any big ones right now, but I do have these little ones, and they're the same type of thing, little square pads. I use these more for doing stencils and stuff like that, and I've actually got little makeup pads attached to the bottom just for making it easier to stencil, and some of them I don't have attached because I ran out of Velcro, but they're very much like your dye inks if you're going to be using these for stamping, although I do prefer dye inks personally. So now I'm going to go and start stamping and showing you guys some of the different stamping inks and stamping techniques and stuff like that. Before you start that, you're going to want to get out a baby wipe. I'm just using this Huggies brand from Dollarama. Like seriously, it was like $2.50. I got how many? 56 of them. So they'll last you a while. And you're using this to clean off your ink pad. So what we're going to start with first, I'm just going to use the black ink. It's the same for all the dye inks. This is the dye Memento ink. And it's the same, no matter what color you use, you're going to have the same results. So all you do with this is you're just going to press it down. I always turn it over and check, and I can see that my stamp still needs some more ink. So press it down a couple times until it looks like you have full coverage. And then just press down, lift up. So you can see there, my stamp did not stamp all that well. This is why sometimes it is a good idea to stamp off page first. You can see there, it looks a little bit better this time. So you stamp, hold down for a second, pull up, and you can see this image here looks much crisper than this one. And then all you do when you're done with this one is I usually just kind of tap it on my baby wipe. You can wipe it on here, make sure you get all the ink off, and then it's ready to stamp again. You're going to get the same type of things if you use the big images. The only thing is you might have to move your stamp around to get it completely covered. So I haven't actually used this stamp before. It's a Recollections one from the $1.50 bin. So I hope it stamps okay. So just give it a good amount of pressure. Kind of just, you don't want to rock, but you want to press down firmly and pull back up. And that looks really pretty. Except that I have a piece of, I had a piece of plastic stuck to it, guys. So I got a little weird looking over there. And then do the same thing. You're just wiping it off so that afterwards your stamp is clean again. So now if you're using your clear stamp, so we'll use this dog one here. First of all, you want to put it on a block that is the right size. So for this one here, I am using my little grid stamp that is 2.5 by 2 inches. And the reason you want to do this is that you're going to get a crisper image if you do it that way. If you throw this on here and try to press down because you're holding the edges, you're not going to get as much pressure on the inside of your stamp. So you really want to make sure you're using the right size block. So I put it on my smaller one here. You could also, I mean, I think it fits on this one. Yeah. You could also put it on this block. It's whatever your preference is. And I don't always put them on straight. You put them on whatever way you want. If they fit diagonally, put them on diagonally. It doesn't really matter. You're doing the same thing again, is that you're just going to press your stamp down into your ink. The one nice thing about clear stamps is you can look through the top and see if it already looks like a nice image. So here I can already see, I don't know if you guys can, let me pull it in, that it looks completely black all the way around. So that should mean that we're good to go. So you do the same thing, you're going to press down, give it a couple seconds, pull up. Nice crisp image. These Lawn Fawn stamps are amazing. I really like them. They stamp nice every time. So now we're going to put away our Memento ink here. And I'm going to go on to my Versafine, which is, or not my Versafine, sorry, my Dewdrop Brilliance in the gold. So the pigment ink, so this here is dye. It is already dry. Like there's no smudging, there's no nothing. So with this one, you're doing the same thing. You're just going to tap it on. Make sure you've got gold all over this little bumblebee. Press it down, pull it up. And so now if I smudge my finger across there, it smudged the glitter everywhere because it is still wet. But that makes it great for, as I said, for heat embossing. Because you can get some clear on here and it will really stand out. You can put silver, press that one a little bit too hard. If you press too hard, your image is going to smudge a little bit. So just press down, pull up. Now when you clean these off, I find with the pigment inks, they stick a little bit more. So sometimes you've got to clean them a lot better. And sometimes you have to go to your sink and wash them with soap and water because the baby wipe just ain't gonna cut it. Now, sometimes with pigment inks, you will get staining. So your stamped image, or your stamp, sorry, will actually get a little stain on it. So I'm gonna pull the bird off here and go for, we'll go on this one. So I've got this little bird here. I'm gonna do the same thing. It's my clear stamp. I've just stuck this flat side down to my block. You're doing the same thing. You're gonna tap it on here. Make sure that you've got it nice and gold image. Press down, pull up. And you've got a nice little bird there. And then usually if you clean it right away on these clear ones, it comes off. I find that if you leave it for any amount of time, it will stain your image, but it still stamps perfectly fine after that. So those gold ones there are your pigment inks. Next are our distress inks. So this is the same thing. You can also, if you have your little pads like this, you can also tap them onto your image like this until you get enough ink on there. And you're doing the same thing again. You're gonna press down, pull up. Now you can see with distress ink here, I hope you can, I'm not sure if you can, I'll bring it in closer, that the image here is a little grainy, like you can see little marks. Now that's usually what happens with just distress inks. If that is an image or a way that you like to stamp and you like it to look like that, go for it. Because that is, I mean, that's what distress means. It's supposed to have little spots in it and this and that. If you don't like the distress look, then you're not going to want to use distress inks to stamp with. I usually don't use my distress inks to stamp with. I use my Memento inks usually, because they give me a nice crisp image every time. So same thing with your clear stamps. Stamp down, stamp on your page, pull up. You see there, it's still got some little marks in it from the distress ink, but That is completely normal. Anyway, so that is basically my little tutorial on what to do with your rubber and acrylic stamps. They're very simple to use. There are many ways to use them. You don't in any way have to use the colors that I use. There are so many different colors, so many colors of pigment inks, of your dye inks. There are so many different options for stamps. Like, you can get your rubber stamps like this that are wood mounted. You can get your acrylic ones like this, your clear stamps, and then mount them yourself. The one thing that I can say about the clear stamps is that this here is going to cost you, depending on where you get it, it could be anywhere from $15 Canadian to $20 Canadian. And in it, so in this set, you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18 stamps. You're getting 18 stamps, so you're paying about $1 a stamp. Whereas this one image right here was $1.50, and it was from the Michael's dollar bin, basically. Whereas if you go to some of the other detailed stamps, so something like, I've got this thank you stamp, which this one here was $6.49 American. So this was about $8.50 Canadian just for one sentiment. So that's the thing about the clear stamps, is that you can get a lot more bang for your buck. And they are very, very simple to store, because right now my rubber stamps all sit in a drawer. They take up a lot of room. Clear stamps, they go in their packaging, you can put them in a drawer, and they all stand up and they take up barely any room at all. So that's something that you have to consider if you are going to start stamping, making cards, making anything, scrapbooking. You have to consider your cost and what kind of space you have. Anyways, thank you very much for watching along with my video, and I hope you guys check out any other videos I have coming up. Thanks, have a good day.